Hi everyone. Now that we have the general journal done, we're going to move on to the next stage of the process, which is putting information into the general ledger. Essentially, what we're going to be doing is we're taking all of our journal entries and copying the information over into a form that's recognizable by accountants, and when companies come through and they're audited, they can have a quick look at the books. So let's start with the cash account on the first for $5,000. One good tip before we start transferring over is sometimes it is helpful to print out the journal pages. That way, as you transfer the information over to the ledgers, you can just cross off or check mark or show some type of notation that you have done that transaction. That way you don't skip a transaction, you don't miss anything, you don't repeat transactions. So it's just another way to safeguard your homework. As you have probably noticed by now, if there's one thing off, it throws everything else off too. So just one way to help save yourself some stress later on. So what we're going to do is in the cash account on May 1st, we're going to show a debit of $5,000. So we're going to go all the way up to the cash account. We're going to enter the date. You don't need to put an item. The post reference would be the journal page, so it's page 1. And then you would enter the amount for $5,000. And then you would just transfer those amounts throughout. So $5,000. So this does not have to be in dollar format. So it's fine with me. However, you have it shown as long as you get the correct answer. So now we're going to show a credit to capital for $5,000. So we're going to scroll down to the capital account, enter the date, show a credit of $5,000. The first transaction's done. And we're just going to repeat the process. So we're going to show on the second a debit to rent expense for $500. So rent expense, that was on the second, $500. And then we're going to show a credit to cash for $500. So we're going to scroll back up to the cash account. We're just going to enter the second. We're going to enter $500. And this is what we're going to do now. It's called a running balance. We're just keeping a running total like in your check register. Or it's similar to your bank account. When you purchase something off your debit card, it automatically comes off of what you have. That is essentially what a running balance is. So we're going to take the $5,000 minus $500. Again, it may be easy math, but it's always better to double check your work instead of, you could be having an off day on your math skills. So, and we're going to do office supplies for $100 on May 3rd. Office supplies, May 3rd, $100. And then we have a credit to cash for $100 on the 3rd. Then we're going to subtract again to get the next balance amount. Office equipment for $2,000 on the 4th. The 4th, $2,000. And then it was accounts payable as a credit for $2,000. Okay, cash and appraisal fees on the 5th for $280. 5th, $280. Break out the calculator. gives us a balance of $4,680. Let's go down to appraisal fees. Appraisal fees, May 5th, $280. A telephone expense for $38 on the 8th. $38. Then we're just going to go back up to cash again. And then we're going to subtract $4,642. Okay, the next one is electricity for $42 on the 9th. Okay, and then again, we're going to go back up to cash on the 9th. So that makes it $4,600 even. Cash, we earned $310 on the 10th. So that's $4,910. And then appraisal fees for the same amount. This can be a little time consuming, I know that. So that should be $590. Okay, and then again, we're going to keep a running balance in all accounts, which means we're just going to total as we go to make sure we keep the balance amounts. So wages expense for $500 on the 13th. May 13th. And this is the exact same process that you're going to be doing on your homework. If you get the little hashtag, what you need to do is you need to make your column wider. So the easiest way to do that is if you look up here, you see column B. Go to the right side of that where you get this little plus symbol. Double click and it'll automatically extend out for you. So that was the 13th for $500. So that's going to be $4,410. You have transportation expense for $200 on the 14th. So again, you're just going to have to scroll down. That was $200, I believe, which gives us a balance of $238. Oops. Be careful of typing in numbers wrong. That will happen, but try to just triple check. That was on the 14th. So that gives us $2,210. Advertising expense on the 15th for $30. May 15th. When you are doing the journal entries and transferring them over, it can get confusing, which is why I recommended printing out what you can. Or if you're using your working papers, great time to use them. Just write the information out first. But then when you do transfer them to the Excel spreadsheet, check mark them or do something that shows which transactions you've done. That way you don't miss anything. So that's $2,180. And once we get the journal ledger done is when we go on to the trial balance. So we have cash and appraisal fees. I'm going to pause it here and I'm going to go ahead and finish it out. Okay, I got most of the way through and then I found a mistake that I had made. I didn't think something looked quite right. If you look at this transaction on the 14th, I'm going to put it in green for you. On the 14th, I have it listed as a telephone expense for $200. If you go back to the journal, I have it listed as a transportation expense. If I didn't catch this now, it would have caused a big headache and it would have shown up when we did the trial balance. So I'm going to go back and correct that. So this should be the 14th for $200. Then we should have one on the 19th for $22. And then we're just going to delete. And then it's corrected before we got too far. So now I'm going to pause it again and finish the rest of the transactions. Okay, so now we have all of the accounts and the amounts entered from the general journal. Now what we have to do is we're taking the ending balance in each account like we did on 3-13 and transferring those amounts over to the trial balance to see if we are correct. So we should have $24.98, $250. So we're just going to be using the amounts in blue. And then we're going to total them at the end to make sure that our debits do equal our credits. Make sure that when you are entering in accounts, the amounts for the accounts, that you're actually putting them on the correct side. That is a common error I see on homework. So just to make sure that is something you look out for. We are getting close. And then everything else is going to be a debit because they're all expenses. So we have 1,000, and then we have 60. Our rent expense is 500, so we have 500, then 38. Transportation expense is 237, and then 42. And then 15 for our miscellaneous expense. So now we need to total the columns. Okay. So if you don't want Excel to do it, you can do the math yourself. For the sake of time, I'm just having Excel do it. So if you look, we did something not quite right. So let's go back and double check our work. So we are off by a lot. So let's see. 67.90 minus 87.80. We are off by $1,990. So we need to figure out where we went wrong exactly. So the first thing to check is your math. So we have 5,000 minus 500 gives us 45, minus 100 gives us 44, plus 280, which gives us 4680, minus 38, minus 42, plus 310, minus 500, minus 200. And if you look right here, there is the mistake. Okay, so now that we found the error, let's just delete everything and let's do the math again and see if that corrects the problem. So it should be 4210, and then we're going to take out 30, 4180, add 620, 48, almost there. The moment of truth has almost arrived. If you do have an error and you, for the life of you, cannot find it, let me know. Send me the file within Canvas and say, can you please look this over? I have an error. I have no idea where it is. I will be more than happy to do that. I want you guys to be successful in this class. So we have a new balance of $44.98, and we are still off $10 somewhere. So let's go back and check. We've just done this math again. That's not going to change. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. So let's check this math. 280 plus 310 plus 620 plus 500 plus 280. 1990 is what it should be. So let's go back and see if that fixes it. And there we go. We do balance. On the next video, we will take this information from the trial balance and start the financial statements. If you have any questions so far, let me know and have a great day.